I'm going to go over the problem 60 to number 76 on operations with complex numbers. Just as a reminder, I is defined as the square root of negative 1, which makes I squared negative 1, I to the third negative I, and well, I to the power of 0, anything to the power of 0 is going to be 1. And then it cycles, so like if I do I to the fourth, it goes back to 1. It cycles in fourths. So this would be I to the fourth, this would be I to the fifth, this would be I to the sixth, this would be I to the seventh, and then cycles again. So in number 60, this is going to be I squared, which is negative 1. I to the 32, well, I'm going to divide 32 by 4 and look at my remainder. How many, just to find out where it sets up here. 4 goes into 32 8 times with a remainder of 0. So it's 8 remainder 0. So I to the 32 is going to be equivalent to I to the power of 0, which is 1. 131, if you divide that by 4, you get a remainder of 3. So negative I to the 131 is equal to negative I to the power of 3, which is negative, and I to the power of 3 is the same as negative I. So negative negative I, which ends up being positive I. (61) Part A. First thing we want to do is distribute the negative 2. And then combine like terms. We got a positive 4i and a negative 4i adds to 0, and 3 minus 10 is negative 7. On part B, we have 2 plus 3i times another 2 plus 3i. Distribute. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3i is 6i. Another 6i. And then a 9i squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1, so this is 4 plus 12i plus 9 times negative 1, which is negative 9. So 4 minus 9 is negative 5, and you got the plus 12i. In part C, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times negative 2i is negative 6i. You got a positive 6i and a negative 4i squared. This is going to be 9 minus 4 times negative 1, which is 9 plus 4, which is 13. Part D. If you have a fraction, you can't end up with a square root in the denominator. I is a square root. It's the square root of negative 1. So we're going to have to multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by the conjugate of the bottom, which is 2 plus 3i. Work through that multiplication. Four minus 15 is negative 11, plus 16i 9 plus 4, which is 13, and it doesn't look like anything reduces there, so that's our answer. We've simplified it because there's no more square root, no more I in the denominator. 62, add like terms. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 minus 5 is 3. Negative 3. So it should be 7 minus 3i. Uh, 63. Distribute the 4 and you get negative 7 plus 9i plus 8 minus 40i. So negative 7 plus 8 is 1. 9 minus 40 is negative 31i. So 1 minus 31i. On 64, distribute the negative. You get 5 minus 6i minus 3 plus 2i, which is 2 minus 4i. 65, distribute the negative 3. You get 8 plus 5i minus 6 minus 9i. 8 minus 6 is 2, and 5 minus 9 is negative 4. So 2 minus 4i. 66, this is 3 minus 2i squared. So distribute. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 6i minus 6i plus 4i squared, which is 9 minus 12i minus 4, because I squared is negative 1. 9 minus 4 is 5. 67, 4 plus I squared. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 4i plus 4i plus I squared. So it's 16 plus 8i minus 1, because I squared is negative 1, so it's 15 plus 8i. 68, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times negative 5i, 4i times 3, and 4i minus 4i times negative 5i is negative 20i squared. So 6 plus 2i plus 20, because negative 20 times I squared is negative 1. Negative 20 times negative 1 is positive 20. So 26 plus 2i. 69, we get 1 times 6, 1 times 3i, 2i times 6, and 2i times 3i. It's going to be 6 plus 15i minus 6, which is just 15i. Number 70, can't have a square root in the denominator, and I has a square root of negative 1. To get rid of this, we multiply by the conjugate, which would be 1 plus I. Work that out. We end up with 2i over 2, which is just I. Number 71, work the same way, multiply by the conjugate, 2 plus 3i. Work through that. Simplifying this, let's see, we got 8 plus 18i minus 9 over 4 plus 9, which is negative 1 plus 18i over 13. $72. Multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. Multiply it out. Get 36 plus 12i minus 1 over 36 plus 1, which is 35 plus 12i over 37. $73. Multiply by the conjugate. Multiply that out. Simplify that, we get 2 minus 12i minus 16 over 4 plus 16, which is going to be negative 14 minus 12i over 20. We can reduce that. We can divide everything by 2 and get negative 7 minus 6i all over 10. $74. I'm going to take 45 and divide that by 4 to see what the remainder is, because these things grow in cycles of 4. And get a remainder of 1. So I to the 45 is the same as I to the power of 1, which is just I. Do the same thing with 23. We get a remainder of 3, so this is the same as negative I to the power of 3, which is negative. And if you have trouble with remembering what I to the power of 3 is, you can always break it up. So I to the power of 3 is I squared times I to the first, right? I squared is negative 1, so this would be negative times negative 1 times I, which is just a positive I. And 76. So we get a remainder of 2, so this is equal to negative I squared, which is negative times negative 1, which is just 1. And that is our last problem. Okay, I hope things are going well. See you on the next video.